Greetings, everyone. You are tuned into the Trust and Believe Nomad Cast. I'm your humble host, Damon Anderson. Thank you for everyone that's been commenting and my new subscribers. I appreciate everything, all the love and support. Appreciate that. This is my therapy. I will continue to say it. This Nomad Cast serves as my therapy. So I appreciate that. For all my audio folks who's not YouTube visual folks, you can download this and hear me on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spreaker, Podcast Addict, Podchaser, Deezer, Anchor, wherever you find your podcast at. For my YouTube folks, a retired Master Sergeant 20. So tell a family member, tell a friend, tell everybody about the Trust and Believe Nomad Cast. This is definitely fun for me. It doesn't feel like work. So I'm loving it and enjoying it. All right, for my opening remarks, I want to say something regarding yesterday. Yesterday was Way Back Wednesday, right? A weekly Way Back Wednesday segment. And what happened yesterday, I was supposed to talk about when I met my wife, talking about from my time in the Marines until now. So I recorded, had 45 minutes of, including my opening remarks, 45 minutes of content regarding how we met, marriage, and everything. Excuse me. And I didn't hit record, so I'm just talking on the mic, da 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 da, not paying attention. And I usually do we call them pre-combat checks, make sure everything is straight. And for some reason, I just kind of just dived into it, hooked up the mic, and just kept talking. And then when I got ready to edit everything, I'm noticing my mouth moving, and I got my facial expressions and my hand movements and all this. There's no audio coming out. I wasn't vocal through my cords, I guess you could say. So all I did after that, I was like, you know what? I don't have the energy to tell the story over again. So what I did, I just put like a 2-minute video together of 3 videos that I made in Korea on my iPhone when I was out in the field in those freezing conditions. I said, let me just throw it together, have something out. So I know everybody's like, hey, what's up with the video? Your regular Nomad Cast. So that's the reason why. So what I'm going to do for next week's Way Back Wednesday is tell the story on how me and my wife got married. And then the subsequent Way Back Wednesday, 2 weeks from now, I'll tell the story on the birth of our children. So I'm definitely looking forward to that. So again, I thank you for everybody being safe and sound. Take care of yourself. Take care of your family members. Take care of your friends, and everything will be good to go. Regarding Wednesday, yesterday, other than that, everything was good. Dropped my son off. Went to Walmart as per usual. Probably buying stuff I don't need, and kept it going. So I hope everybody had a great Monday, a Tuesday, and Wednesday. Right now, we're getting ready to transition into sneaker stories on the Thursday, and I'll be talking about my favorite all-time gym shoe, my favorite all-time sneaker, my favorite all-time kick, however you want to classify it, will be the Adidas Forum. Originally brought out into circulation, into stores in the year 1984, and how that shoe impacted me, everyone around me, and also our neighboring cities. They had a huge influence. Talked about influences about a couple weeks ago. Shoe had a huge influence for good and for bad. So I'm going to tell that story here on Sneaker Stories on the Thursday, talking about the Adidas Forum. Remember, the YouTube, Retired Master Sergeant 20. Click the link, click the bell icon, and subscribe. Appreciate it. See y'all next Sneaker Stories on the Thursday. All right, everybody, welcome back. Welcome back to the Trust and Believe Nomad Cast. Again, I'm your host, Damon Anderson. Subscriptions, likes, bell icons, all the etceteras. Trust and Believe Nomad Cast. You can find me on all your favorite podcast platforms, again, including Apple, Google, Deezer, Spreaker, Podcast Chaser, Podcast Addict, wherever you listen to your podcast, and again on YouTube at Retired Master Sergeant 20. All right, so today I'm going to talk about sneakers on a Thursday. Sneaker stories. I'm going to talk about this shoe, which is my all-time favorite sneaker in the world, which is the Adidas Forum. Originally put out on the market in 1984. And the significance about this shoe, a couple fun facts. One, the shoe was the first basketball shoe to retail over $100. And you look at 1984, that was a lot of money to be spending on some gym shoes. As Detroiters, we called them gym shoes, right? $100. Originally, it was for basketball. If you look at a lot of old photos and videos on YouTube, you'll see a lot of the old school basketball players wearing them. Another fun fact, everyone's favorite basketball player in the world, Michael Jordan, wore Adidas Forums during the Olympic tryouts in 1984. You can YouTube that and watch them. You can also look at some of the pictures online and see that he was wearing the Adidas Forums as well. And I'm going to actually show you those Adidas Forums that Michael Jordan wore during the 1984 Olympic trials. Again, this was my favorite shoe. I'm going to say this is my favorite gym shoe of all time, the Adidas Forums. Now, I've had Jordans, still do, Reebok, still do, Converse, Nikes, all the shoes ever. This remains my number one favorite shoe of all time. So a little backstory on the Adidas Forum. Came out in 1984. I was 10 years old. So born in 74 if we're doing public math. So in the 80s, the crack epidemic hit a lot of areas, a lot of our urban cities throughout. We're talking about Detroit, the Chicagos, the Bostons, New Yorks, DCs, Baltimore, Philly, all those cities, right? Even the West Coast cities as well, down south. But I'm just going to speak of the ones in my area. The crack epidemic was huge in the 80s. And being 10 years old, I grew up on seeing a lot of these guys on the street, the drug dealers and the guys that, we probably shouldn't have been idolizing, but we did. My father, he worked and retired from Chrysler. A lot of our parents that was on the street working back then, that was on our street working, they worked at Cadillac, they worked at GM, they worked at Ford, or wherever they worked. Usually it was one of the big three auto plants. But the kids growing up in my neighborhood and surrounding neighborhoods throughout the city, we look at them, we idolized them. I mean, because they was the elders, there was our parents and uncles or who have you. But we looked at the drug dealers, myself included. Those guys were the ones that had the flashy cars and they had the big, thick gold chains, and they wore the Levi's, they wore the Guess jeans with the jean jacket, and they had all this, the Gazelle sunglasses. But they also wore Adidas in Detroit alone. And I know other cities like New York, because we took a lot of their fashion as well. But New York, the 80s, Boston, the 80s, those cities, East Coast cities, up north cities, they were wearing a lot of Adidas. Run DMC, even made a song talking about my Adidas. So that's the brand really made its mark in our culture in the 80s. You had the Adidas Top 10s. You had the Adidas Forums. You had the Adidas Decades. You had Shell Toes, which originally was way back when, but people were still wearing them. You had the Adidas Centennials. You had Adidas Bromes. You had the Adidas Fleetwoods. You had the Patrick Ewing Adidas when he wore Adidas, the Conductors, the Rivalries. The list goes on and on. The Adidas Concords. And I'll do a sneaker story on the Concords sometime down the line. And also, I'll do another sneaker story on the top 10s down the line. But getting back to that brand Adidas, whenever I see an old school pair of Adidas, and I'm going to show you what I mean by old school pair, it really defined our time in the 80s and the guys and gals who we want to be like, who we want to look like, who we want to act like, because they wore a certain shoe. All right. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to show you, I have 6 models of an Adidas Forum that I've worn, and I have some that I probably will never wear just for a collector's point of view. So the very first Adidas Forum I'm going to bring out is the Adidas Forum. It's the high that was released, I want to say 2016, because I ordered these when we were in Japan. So the Adidas Forum high, right? And I'm going to show you the difference when I mean high. As you can see, it's high. It reaches all the way up, covers the ankle depending on your type of foot. What we loved about the Adidas Forums was this X right here, and I'll show you how the X is actually utilized. But the Adidas logo was right here, and if you look at some early models from the 80s, right? Let me put out here so I ain't over my face. There we go. Camera management people. They used to have writing up under here. I believe it was France. It had some words up under here. Funny thing about it, we used to take a highlighter, and we used to highlight that. Like you can't already see the word Adidas, right? But we used to highlight it. Coming around the toe box, we love the Adidas old school toe boxes. Some of the modern Adidas, they have them, some don't, right? But the thing, let me flip this around. Now you see how the X, it comes around as an X, right? And then you have the strap. Take the strap, and that was for your ankle support, for the basketball players, right? And it prevented a lot of bad ankle injuries back in the day. Padded, the whole thing. But the beautiful thing I always loved about old school Adidas, they all had this Dillinger web, which is supposed to be to simulate a basketball net. Because in the 80s, Adidas was really dominant in basketball. Trust me, I'm a Jordan guy. You can hear all the stories about how Nike dominated the 80s. And some of that is true. But if we're looking at the early 80s to probably mid to late 80s, Adidas had a strong foothold on basketball. But I think more importantly, Adidas had a strong hold on culture. Now I'm going to show you the difference. The colors are a little bit different. Now you see how this is kind of a light blue and it's high, right? But now you look at this one. This is what we used to call 3/4, which is pretty much now they call them mid cuts. Same thing, toe box and all that, right? But notice the top here. Let me put this one down. The top here has a little silver mark. These was retros, and the retros, they never turn out as good as the original. The original designers, I know they left the blueprints back in the office, man. Just look at how the shoe was originally designed. But then you also look at how was the material back then. The materials are different than what they are now. Some advanced and whatnot. So those are the Adidas Forums. 2 same colors, different sizes. So Adidas say, you know what? These guys are really wearing these shoes that we had in the 80s. Let's start making them again, right? But add different, specifications to it, different silhouettes. So this is Adidas. I haven't worn this one yet. They named this the 1984, and it has some of the 1984 characteristics to it, right? Here you have this kind of suede. You got the suede on the stripes here. And when I mentioned earlier about the old school Adidas, see how it's rigid on those stripes? I used to love that as a kid, man. That and that daggone Dillinger web. It was just something about that. See, you have the distorted shoestrings with it. The functions are still the same with the strap around your ankle and everything. And I haven't worn these yet. I probably had these about 4 months. I don't know if I plan on wearing these because, again, this is my favorite shoe of all time. And I love that Adidas, the bottom. All the old school Adidas had that certain bottom to them. Man, I loved it. This brings back so freaking memories, man. I used to idolize these freaking shoes. And a lot of people say, well, you idolize shoes. I mean, you just got to understand the environment I grew up in, man. This was like, if you had the Adidas Forum, if you had a pair of Adidas top 10s, man, you freaking made it. So I have another color here, and these are red, and they had all sorts of colors back then. You look at the Adidas Forums now, and I'll put an Adidas Forum link in the description. They got all these weird colors now, and I know, it's a different time, it's a different culture, and the kids nowadays, they want red with blue pants and neon socks. And I don't know, man. We talk about old school. My era, man. I love the way we dressed back then. It was, if you got a black hat, you got a black shirt. I mean, everything just freaking coordinated. See, these are some red ones. Again, another highlight of these retro Adidas. They just didn't, they should have been higher than what they were, but nonetheless, it was still a good retro. Last time I wore these was in Japan, I think in 2016 or 2017. We went to a dinosaur park in Okinawa, Japan, and it was the last time I wore these. So I ain't wore these shoes in 5 years. I'm gonna have to break these out, man, and rock these things again, right? But again, that Dillinger Web, now you see the difference in the Dillinger Web on the red ones versus the Dillinger Web on the blue ones, right? Man, it may seem small to people, man, but it was just something about this, man. I just freaking loved it. Now we're going to get into an Adidas that was based on the Detroit Bad Boys, which is Detroit Pistons from back in the 90s. Now I have these here. These are patent leather forms, and I don't know why my thing is jagged like that. I'm already recording, so I'm gonna stay with it and I'll fix it later. These are patent leather Adidas forms, right? And I haven't worn these yet. Again, I won't wear these because these are considered collector's items, right? As you can see here, the 90 is to commemorate the Detroit Pistons winning the championship. They won in 89 and 90, right? Now look at the Dillinger Web on these. It's orange, but these are patent leather. And then once you take the strap off, again, for that ankle support, also it has the D in the back for Detroit. Now, if you look at these are actual collector's models, right? This is number 547 out of 1200. I'm trying to make it where you can really see it. 547 out, 557 out of 1200. So they only made 1,200 of these, and yours truly has pair 557. Tag still on them. Adidas Forum 84 high. These are not highs though. These are highs. It's a difference in size. But these are the patent leather forms, right? I probably won't wear these because these are considered collectors. Now, one thing Adidas did in the past, they decided to let's bring out the snakeskin Adidas. Now, we had snakeskin Adidas back then, had the patent leather and the regular leather. But now they got all this suede and, fur on the toe, all this crazy stuff. I guess I'm just the old man, get off my lawn. I guess I'm just one of them guys. But, I talk about these old schools, stuck in the old school. Do I miss the old school? When it comes to Adidas basketball shoes and Nike shoes back in the day, I do miss the old school. However, though, the materials now, of course, is better than it was back then. Because even though these shoes back then were fly, they were like freaking blocks on your feet. So they brought out this silhouette, the Adidas Forum in snakeskin. The only thing I didn't like what Adidas didn't do, they didn't put the Adidas right there, right in that center of that X. I don't know why they didn't do that, but other than that, these shoes are phenomenal. This is snakeskin, all that snakeskin. I don't know what type of snake. And we used to love snakeskin Adidas. Just something about them. That bottom, Dillinger Web is gray, right? The Adidas Forum. I witnessed a lot of issues back in the day with kids in the Adidas Forum. A lot of sad stories. I've seen people getting beat up. I've seen people get shot over them. Seeing people, getting stolen from them. And I have a story of my own regarding some Adidas Forums. Way back in 1992, I was working at White Castle, and I had a green Oakland A's leather jacket on. If you know the Oakland A's, the A is yellow, and the rest of the colors is green. And it had a huge Oakland A's logo right in the back. I mean, a blind man could see it. And I would catch the bus to work. right? So I remember going to get my check because we got paid every Friday. And my mother said, don't go to don't wear that jacket going to get your check. You know, you'll be on the bus. And the bus in Detroit was very dangerous, right? Nah, Ma, I'm good. I'm good. So I got on the bus and I had a green Oakland A's jacket on with some green Adidas Forums. And I'm telling my age, and I had a cross colors outfit that was green. Had a little red in it. And I went to get my check, picked up my check. And when I got across the street, because the bus stop, I think, is still there. And there used to be a bank right behind it. I don't think there's a bank there anymore. I'm standing at the bus stop, and this dude, man, I swear, looked just like Big Daddy Kane. If you don't know who Big Daddy Kane is, just Google him. This guy came up to me with a gun, and he demanded my jacket. First thing he said, you know, back in the day, they used to say, check it in or run it. So if you ever hear those two phrases, which I hope you never do, he said, check it in. And he was like, okay, what size is your coat? Your coat look good, man. It might fit me. All prerequisites for getting robbed. Now I'm thinking it's on a Friday. It's a bank behind me. Everybody and their mama is getting their their check cashed or doing whatever. No one said anything. So he was like, follow me around this wall. So it used to be like a wall right behind the bank. Again, I don't think that bank is there anymore. And, I took my jacket off. He let me keep my shoes on. And I remember it was freaking cold that day. And he said, you lucky. And he said, just walk away. So I just kept walking. Don't turn around. Don't do nothing. Just kept walking. I ended up getting on the bus. And I felt like I was punked, man. I mean, this was, 1992? That was almost 30 years ago. And, things ended up happening to him because people knew him and, things happened. But I just want to kind of tell that story, too, because even though these shoes in my time back in the 80s, we idolized them. I almost got them taken from me years later. So, man, I tell you, man, life in the inner city, man, a place where they rob, but they didn't steal. You know what I mean? So, hey, appreciate everything today. Listen to my sneaker story on a Thursday with my 6 pair of Adidas Forums and listen to the unfortunate incident. Well, I won't say unfortunate because I lived, no issue. It just took my freaking Oakland A's jacket, right? So, again, appreciate everything. Appreciate all the love and, everything. Like I said, people commenting, the new subscribers. So I thank you for everything. Thank you for the support. Again, you can catch me on all your podcasts, everything that you deal with podcasts. You can catch me on Google, Spotify. Oh, man, I forgot to mention Spotify. Google, Spotify, Apple, Spreaker, all your podcast networks. I'm on those. All your podcast platforms, I'm on those. YouTube, if you want the visual version, Retired Master Sergeant 20. Usually I do a turnaround Thursday, but right now I'm just going to jump it all together. So next week for Monday Mental Combat, I'm going to do a series on being able to read the room. So Monday's Mental Combat is reading the room. Last week's Monday Mental Combat was talked about depression. But this Monday will be reading the room. All right. And then we go into Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday. Right. So let's just recap right quick what we talked about. Monday, talked about depression. Kind of brought up some bad memories. It's a lot of stories that I haven't told, and I probably will never tell when it deals to depression. Lost a lot of service members, a lot of brothers and sisters dealing with depression. All right. But again, I hope that everyone that is involved or has an issue with depression, please find a way, find some type of system of support to try to get that, get rid of it, man. Because I can tell you from personal experience, man, it's something that's, oh man. All right. So let's go to Tuesday. What did we talk about Tuesday? I wish I had an audience member right now. But Tuesday, we had talking on a Tuesday. I'm sorry, y'all. Let me look at my show notes. And that's the reason why I have them. So Tuesday, talking on a Tuesday, we talked about, do we really miss the old school, right? Talked about television, cooking, automobiles, and phones. Again, that's another story that we can just talk about for days and days and days. It's yeah, man, we talk about old school, and I'm talking about them shoes right now. But yeah, sometimes we do miss the old school, but then we have to really ask ourselves, do we really, really miss the old school? Yesterday, I talked about that in my opening remarks. Yesterday was just a day where it just seemed nothing was going right in terms of audio and everything. So I said, forget it. Sometimes in life, and I think this is a great indicator of life, sometimes you got to know when to take a knee and just reset and not try to rush and try to make something happen that shouldn't be happening. So again, I'm going to tell that story on how me and my wife met and subsequently got married. I'll tell that story for next week's Way Back Wednesday as well. And I shouldn't have no operator level issues going forward. All right. Again, it's appreciated. Hope you guys have a great weekend coming up. Tomorrow is Friday. Be safe out there. Saturday, be safe. Sunday, be safe. Protect yourself. Protect your family members. Protect your friends. Do the right thing. Be safe. Be positive. And everything will work out. If you need assistance with, talked about depression, anything, there are sites that's available. There's phone numbers available. There's people that can talk to, those trusted confidants we talked about. And just try to seek help, man, and just get better each and every day. So again, appreciate everything that you guys are doing. Please continue to like, subscribe, click the bell icon, YouTube channel at Retired Master Sergeant 20. Again, you can find the Trust and Believe Nomad Cast on Google, Spotify, Apple, Spreaker, Deezer, Podcast Addict, Podcast Chaser, all the etceteras. Appreciate everything. Have a great weekend. Be safe. Be sound. See you Monday for Mental Combat Monday. We're going to talk about the ability to read the room. Peace and love, y'all. See y'all next week.